say, then I know a webinar has officially started in the Zoom world. Hi, I'm Mike Blinder. I'm the publisher of E&P Magazine. A warm welcome from Nashville, Tennessee, and a city that's about to be under siege with snow, and a city that has no snow removal equipment. So meanwhile, if you need toilet paper, paper towels, and milk, our stores have very little, and I just ate into our customers' time. Please forgive me. This is an E&P sponsored webinar. Our guest is one of our marketing supporters that we just feel akin to. We love their team. We love their tools. And we're going to kick off, first of all, welcoming you on behalf of Letterhead. But we're going to do a little housekeeping first, if I may. This is Zoom, and in Zoom, you got a bunch of controls at the bottom and a lot of ways to interact with our panel. We do not have your audio activated at this time. The way you'll interact with the panel is through chat, but do not believe what I just said, because if you go to chat and click on it, Zoom defaults to panelists only. That's not the way we want to run this webinar. I want you to click that puppy over to everyone, because I'd like to have an open dialogue in our chat room today. I'd like people to pose questions to the panel as well as to the audience. And if the audience doesn't agree with the panel or has their own thoughts, feel free to spout off. We've got representatives from Letterhead in there and other people that are maybe even smarter than us in there. They can add some dimension to this, because we're going to discuss right now making email work in 2026. So let's get to work. Email is important. Email is the only audience channel most publishers, in at least my opinion, truly own. And yet too many newsrooms still treat it like a chore instead of your core product. At E&P, it is possibly our most important product, the way we launch new brands, the way we interact most and get the most response from our audience through our email channel. Now, the old playbook of grow the list, blast everyone, track the opens is breaking down in a world of inbox overload, privacy charge changes, and shrinking attention. Today, we're going to hear from someone who's actually cracked this problem, a publisher running five publications who figured out how to scale email without burning out his team or annoying his audience. This session isn't about theory or hype. It's about practical strategies and real results actually working right now. Which brings us to today's main voice, and his name is Travis Horton. I just met Travis recently, but I'm really impressed with his company, Brand Avalanche Media. Travis built his company first as a digital agency, and then expanded it into publications. He has a rare perspective on both as a media operator and a growth strategist. He runs these five publications, built largely through email programs from scratch, and has driven list growth at scale through campaigns like sweepstakes and giveaways that have generated tens of thousands of new subscribers a month. What makes Travis especially relevant to this audience, that he's not just advising publishers, he's actually doing the work. He's making it grow. Travis, I really want to welcome you to the program. I hope you don't mind the hype in my intro. If I blew it and misrepresented you, would you please slap me down, sir?
Thank you, Mike. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit more about your company. What the heck is Brand Avalanche? And who are you? And why is this relevant, sir?
Well, sure. Well, again, my name is Travis Horton. I'm the founder of Brand Avalanche Media, which we launched back in late 2016 as a full-service marketing agency, working with brands exclusively in the outdoor space. That was our lane. And helping them with their marketing needs, whether it be branding initiatives, campaign management, paid media, content development, and of course, email marketing. Fast forward a couple of years, we launched our publications division in 2018. There we own and manage 5 online publications, again, all in the outdoor space. And each publication caters towards a specific segment of the outdoor space. So in a nutshell, one side, Brand Avalanche can help you with your product offerings. And then on the other side, we can help you get the eyeballs to those offers.
You started as an agency, though, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Then you launched your own publications, and they're amazingly cool brands you've got here. I'm showing some of them to the audience: Freedom's Lodge, Popular EDC, and you proudly show on your website the email list. But tell us a little bit more about what made you decide to become a publisher yourself from a digital agency provider, sir?
Well, sure. So it was really twofold. Obviously the long-term goal was to generate a new revenue channel for our business. But the short to intermediate goal was we wanted to create a living, breathing portfolio of our work. Yes, we did a lot of things good within our agency side, But we felt there was a few things that we did really good. And we felt like one of the things or the vehicle we could showcase that through would be building a publication. That we are not learning on our client's dime. We know a thing or two when it comes to email marketing. We know a thing or two when it comes to content development, list nurturing, list segmentation. So that's what we chose to use for the short and immediate goals. We didn't stop at one. We built 5.
All right. What triggered the search for a new solution? You mentioned you were restructuring your business model. What's driving this restructuring now? What's going on at Brand Avalanche? Where's your growth strategy? What's going on?
So what was restructuring? Well, we have to rewind the clock a few years. When we first started, we entered in the market. It was a very fortunate time. The market was hot. We had some solid offers, and that resonated. And Brand Avalanche kind of took off like a hockey stick. We had a lot of success early on, but there was a few glaring holes that we were overlooking operationally. And we knew that at some point, if we didn't address them, it was going to come back and it was going to be a big problem. And I think because of that growth that we had in the first 3-4 years, it's easy to procrastinate. You can chalk it up as growing pains. But sure enough, by year 5, we were seeing the writing on the wall that the market was turning. We had agency clients that weren't renewing on annual contracts. We weren't seeing the advertising dollars on the publication side. Typically, we can see IOs out 120 days. We're barely seeing out 30 days. So we knew now we're going to have to address these issues. So that's what initiated the search in terms of how to restructure to get our business more in line with the new market that was approaching. And
go ahead.
And I was just going to say that part of that was we had some very expensive costs associated with our ESP and other providers. And give you some context there, because of our growth, we were blowing through quotas, and overage charges on a monthly basis would be several $1,000s. And yes, at the time we could absorb that, but we knew in this new market, no, we wouldn't. So that was the big impetus on why we started this search.
I want to bring in Letterhead now. Whenever I host webinars, and we turn down more requests for sponsored webinars than we take, because we want to make sure we're providing useful information through a paid broadcast. And this is the 3rd one we've done with Letterhead, and I want to bring in our 2 partners. And I'm not going to do the same, Bruce. I'm not going to use the same, because you're not the star. You brought in. See, when I bring a partner in, I ask them to bring in one of their customers and use it as a case study. But Bruce, you're co-founder and head of brand at Letterhead. You help publishers turn newsletters into structured, scalable audience products. You bring a strategic lens of what publishers need to be differently if email is going to drive real growth. And Marianne, you've been on this program before. You're not new to talking to our audience. You're VP of Sales at Letterhead. You work hands-on with publishers, building email automation engagement programs that really run well for these publishers. Now, between the 2 of you, I've got some brainiacs who really live, breathe, and eat this whole world of email marketing. First of all, Bruce, may I personally thank you for supporting EAP and our mission, independent growth to help news publishers. And Marianne, thank you so much for your expertise. It's an honor to have both of you here.
Thank you, Mike. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, so I'm going to go to Marianne first. Marianne, when you started working with Travis, what stood out about how he was thinking about his operation? Because you deal with so many different content providers. What was it about Travis that made you say, yeah, this is the guy I want to spotlight, I want to work with when I talk to the news publishing audience of E&P?
Well, Travis made our life easy because Travis came to us prepared. He understood that content was key. He understood his audience. He understood the power of his niche that he worked so hard to build. And he is super, the key thing is for publishers is to understand the data. And Travis is all about the data. He's constantly looking to see where he could improve, where there were opportunities, the insights that Letterhead was able to provide him. He was all over. A lot of people don't necessarily use all of the tools they have access to if they don't stay focused. So his focus was evident from the minute he joined the Letterhead team, and Travis, just a pleasure to work with.
All right, so Travis, why Letterhead? What was broken? Let's not sell Letterhead yet. We're going to give him a chance. You obviously needed something that they got that you didn't have. You already been described as a nerd. You look at the numbers like I do. I live, breathe, and eat those numbers. I mean, I not that we again, I have to, there's arguments on my show, my regular podcast, between telling the people the news they want to know, between telling the people the news they need to know. Newsrooms can still look at their metrics and still accomplish their mission. And that's what we do at ENP. But I'll be damned if I'm not looking to make sure that our sends are resonating. What was it about your brands and your operations that brought you to Letterhead, and why did you decide to improve what you were doing, sir?
Sure. So, I thought we did a pretty good job on our workflows and the efficiencies that we brought into our publication side of the business. But there were small things. It wasn't just one thing that was breaking. It would be, not to say it's a death by a thousand cuts, but it's small things that add up over time and become an issue. Right. And our solution, or the solutions that we do, would be duct taping. We would patch things here or there, but nonetheless, they would percolate back up. And I think we weren't, looking back in hindsight, I don't think we did a good enough job of zooming out and seeing the bigger picture on what we could do to improve those workflows instead of the kind of stopgap solutions that we were doing.
All right. So let's bring it down to, let's take it from 30,000 feet down to the street. Give us a specific example where things would break down. And was it content handoffs, approvals, scheduling? What was it that made you say, I got to automate this more, I got to make this easier and just make it work better?
Yeah. Okay. So assets on how they're handed off from one part of the workflow to another. Content handoff can be one of those. With our publications, it's a mix of both curated content and original unique content. And the curated content we build out monthly, if not, if we're really ambitious, we build it out 60 months in advance. And it's mainly evergreen content, and it lives on a Google Sheet. And so one of the issues that we would have in our workflow would be getting that information from the Google Sheet over onto the platform that we'd be using at the time. I can tell you, okay, so what are some of here's an issue. One of the things that would happen is that the Google Sheet that you're using is the wrong Google Sheet, that you're putting over in. So you're using the wrong curated content.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
So yeah, human error, it happens. Other times it would be when you built the Google Sheet that you had the wrong links. So now you're importing the wrong links and building out to the wrong content, right? Time would be another issue. It's a repetitive task. When you're building out maybe 9 or 10 curated posts per send, it may take you 10, 12 minutes per curated post. You're building that content over, you're reformatting an image, you're building out an abstract, and you're having to link everything up. So that was an issue that we didn't really quite have a solution for in terms of how to automate. Foreshadowing here, Letterhead did it for us.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to send out an integrated email, and the task can take forever, and then you got to recheck them 3 times. I hear you on that, and we do a lot of. Okay, so now you come from the agency side, which this is why I love bringing you into this thing, because and I explained this to you in the green room yesterday. There is no green room. I make that up. We were just Zooming together, and I explained to you that just about all of the publishers have digital agencies, but they did it in reverse. Most of the news publishers started as news publishers, then said, God, I got to do more, because they saw data that the average business they were working with would only deal with a couple partners. I got to provide everything for them. You did it in the reverse. What patterns do you think news publishers can learn the most from your agency side, especially when it comes to email marketing, sir?
So yeah, one of the patterns that we see, that we noticed internally on the publication side, that we also saw with agency clients, was the relationship or the balance between value or relationship driven emails versus transactional emails. And what I mean by that is, what emails are you sending out that you're trying to engage your audience with versus a promotional ask, right? For us, that golden ratio is around 3 to 1. 3 parts, content driven, value driven, 1 part promotion. When we dipped below that, we were looking for trouble. 2 to 1, you're on the fence. Anytime that ratio got down to 1 to 1, we knew bad things were going to happen. We knew that spam complaints were going to go up, open rates, CTRs are going to go down, and we're probably going to spend the next 2-3 weeks trying to get back in the good graces of Gmail and getting inboxed again. Ask me how I know. It happened several times. So that same pattern we see on the agency side. we'd have agency clients that would have that ratio flipped. It'd be 1 part value driven versus 7 parts promo. They kind of treated their lists more as a sales channel than anything else, rather than building a relationship. So that was a big pattern that I saw on both sides of the equation.
I think that's, I mean, if I had to get a pull quote, I think you just did it. Because when we have experts on my show and we have experts in other webinars that are discussing the most important thing we should be doing in news publishing, it's own your audience, number one, which I mean, first party data, and second, are you engaging them? Are you, I mean, rather than just selling them. And we're not going to get that much into content today. We'll touch on it, but I want to stay still in strategy. So, Marianne, you have an amazing place in this conversation because you deal with a myriad of different levels of skill. Am I correct on the publisher side? You have some that are really nerdy, like Travis here, understand the flows, and you have some that just think email is just this thing you throw up into MailChimp, right? And just let it fly. Do you see a scattered workflow issue across a lot of the publishing world that you deal with today? Is this something you really want to hammer home to our audience that this has to be fixed today?
We definitely see that. We see exactly what Travis described. We see band-aided systems being put together, which slows people down in their efficiency. It's like they start small and they add pieces on, like they add something on, and then before you know it, they've got this really complicated, complex workflow that is actually detrimental and inhibits their performance across the board. The C-suite is struggling because they're not seeing revenue the way they want revenue to come in, and the end users or the curators are struggling because the inefficiencies of what the company has handed them, right? So scattered workflow is a huge piece of it, and it just creates bottlenecks in efficiency. You see errors where they don't have the right permission set for team members to come in and audit things and approve things. So they're not really using any of the automations that are really out there and available to them in the industry. But yeah, we see scattered workflow as one of the huge problems that we solve for. That's one of our biggest straws, actually.
I'm going to throw another question at you, if I may, Marianne, while we're discussing this. I heard Travis discuss curation, and I mean, we at E&P do a lot of curated content that we have to automate into our daily email, which is our most popular, by the way. And then we have exclusive content that we have to reposition from the print side into the digital side. Does that make sense? Going for engagement. Do you see this as a challenge that you have to coach media companies as well to understand both sides of the equation, why they're both important in Ascend and why automation can make your life easier?
You don't see it so much as a challenge of explaining why it'll make their life better, because it's actually a major draw, the automations and the dynamic content and being able to really leverage that. But tying it back in, it's smart to have a blended approach where you have you can do automated, but you still want that human tone in there. So pulling the content from a trusted source with the right content is key. And then if you want to have opinion paragraphs written or segments written, that's a great blend, right? Because you've got that human touch in there aside. But yeah, the automations, that's a big draw for us. So we don't have to explain it. We just have to teach how to use it, which is easy. And it works for everybody because we've got multiple dynamic segments. We've got a WordPress plugin. We've got a URL block where you can just pull from any trusted source that you have. We've got RSS feeds. We've got a curations library, which is built on. So there are a multitude of things. So depending on how adapted they are to efficiencies and whatnot, we'll find a way, and we'll actually describe and set up a templated program for our customers. So
when I meet with our email, we have one person dedicated to gathering. We use a lot of those tools, and I call it a buffet. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want you to think of yourself looking at the buffet now, and I want to think about the hunger of that news publisher that's wanting some relevant information. How do we want to set that up now? And that's where, in my opinion, I trust AI and I don't trust AI. Do you see what I'm saying? I think that really understanding your audience. Sorry if I'm editorializing, but I'm agreeing with you. So give me a break. Bruce, you've been sitting here lobbying great answers in the chat room, but it's hard for me to talk and also read because I'm an old man and multitasking. Thank you for monitoring the chat, but I'm going to bring you in now. So first of all, those of you in the audience, if we're too ethereal, if you don't understand what we're talking about, there are no dumb questions here. Get it in the chat room now because now's your chance. And also add your thoughts to the dialogue you're hearing. But Bruce, I'm gonna wire you in now. Bruce, Travis is talking about scattered tools to a unified workflow. I think I'm quoting him. When publishers hear newsletter as a product, especially when it comes to your understanding of the tools you provide at Letterhead, what the hell is he talking about? I mean, bring it down to someone like me, like a 5-year-old, and explain this unified workflow concept and why it's critical in the news publishing ecosystem today, sir.
Yeah. I like to say newsletters as a product because it's kind of like a wake up to folks who have just been doing the work for many years, decades now. You probably set up email programs way back as you first started doing digital publishing. It maybe had some iterations over time, but it was always essentially a distribution platform. It was just send the email and it goes out. Send the email, it goes out. We've got this other product here, our news product. It's print or it's subscription based. And the email is just like one funnel of distributing that. What we're seeing though, and you see this very obviously with some brands like Brand Avalanche or things that people kind of admire now, like Axios is doing a lot of very newsletter forward stuff, or the Skim, things like that, is newsletter is the product. It is the way you're thinking about it. You're kind of restructuring your brain on how does this thing drive revenue? Is it self revenue? Is it something we want you to subscribe to? Is it pushing promotional products that we also make? Whether it's like example, I know not everyone's operating at this level, but say the New York Times, and they've got cookbooks or bespoke books that they're publishing from the archives. You might want to push those products. So the newsletter acts as a vehicle and has a distinct job. And so it kind of comes from the jobs to be done framework that we have in kind of startup land. And so the shift to newsletters as a product, it's just the way we think about it. When you come into Letterhead, we're often trying to ask you like, well, what is ultimately your goal of this email? Is it revenue? Okay, great. We're going to start from there and think about, well, how are we driving value and where can we show that revenue kind of feeding back? I think like there's two most common questions. I was looking at the chat, or not the chat, but the questions people submitted to us in advance. And the most common questions we get are kind of the old mindset of thinking in a way. And it just kind of comes up, and this comes up at conferences. So don't feel bad if you ask this question. Everyone asks it. And it is, how do I increase my opens? And how do I increase my revenue? Which I get where those questions come from. But no one at Letterhead will ever answer you just definitively off just a quick conversation, because we need to understand, again, what's the goals? What's the objective? What's this tool serving in your entire ecosystem? Is it a keystone of it? Is it just one element of it? How does it relate? And so, I mean, I will give you the quick answer, which is content is how you increase your opens and how do you increase your revenue? What is the product actually? Email is just a channel. It's just like pipes and tubes. And in that, you can make all kinds of different packaging and products. If you're delivering high quality content that people can anticipate, they know what it is. It's a product. So they know, oh, okay, I know to expect this to be a 5-minute quick read or a 2-minute quick read, or it's going to be a long form essay that's going to give me new insights to a topic. They're going to open and engage with it more often. There is no magic wand that Letterhead or any other ESP can wave for you that will make your opens go up or will make your revenue increase. It's now thinking about these products. How do we get them in the right hands? How do we expand our product line? You know, you may need different SKUs for different audiences. Same with any other store you might see out in the world. So again, it's a little wonky. I know this is odd, and people probably like this guy's
you're nailing
all over
it,
the place.
man. You're nailing it.
All right.
Every time I get asked, what's the secret sauce? What's sustainability? Every successful operation I can name that we've interviewed or reported on or whatever has great content. It starts with the story. Do you agree? I mean, Jarvis just said that on my show 2 weeks ago. He said, stop overthinking this stuff. We get just because the technology changes. It doesn't change. It's what you're saying, right? So always just take a step back, take a breath, and just relax. Now, I want to, can I circle back to Marianne for a second, Bruce? I hope I didn't cut you
Yep.
off mid-thought. Marianne, Travis is an interesting operation because he's got multiple completely separate brands. Some of them kind of intertwine, but some of them are just directed at different people. It's almost like he's got a buffet where you're way over on this side of the room for the dessert and way over there. But many news publishers that you work with also have separate brands within their brand, right? I mean, segmentation of email is what a lot of people want to do now, because I may have a lifestyle pub that I publish, which has a separate audience than something I'm doing business to business. How do you approach these multiple? I mean, people say I don't have enough time even to do one email. I got to now. You're telling me I should do segmentation of my sends. How do you deliver on these multi-brand operations like this? What is your philosophy when you approach a news publisher that way, Marianne?
It really does come down to a lot of what Bruce is saying. It's the content in the individual brands, right? So how does it evolve? Like going back to what Bruce was just talking about, I don't want to segue back, but the newsletter as a product is, if you're not growing and you're not managing to growth like a business, then you're probably going backwards and you're going to struggle with ROI and everything else. So paying attention to understanding who that audience is and being able to segment them out based on, most people try to segment based on demographic or geo market, but there's really the key interest is above and beyond is in behavioral segment. Like creating segments based on interest and preferences is hugely helpful. So if you're running your newsletter like a product and you see gaps, and I've got low CTOR, click to open rate in some areas and high CTOR in other areas, why is that? Managing to that data and then understanding what are these people clicking on, what are their interests, where do I put them, how can I help them grow the bottom line? So if somebody is clicking on animal articles content more than they're clicking on, I don't know, fishing, right? Then that you've got an opportunity to grow based on that content. And what Travis does really well, if you looked at those original brands that he rolled out, he does exactly that. Like, think about it. He's got Perna homesteading and all kinds of different content. But the last one that he came out with, I think it was your last one, Travis, was Popular Barbecue. Where did that come from? That came from him paying attention, segmenting out based on interest and preferences, and he knew that he would have an engaged audience there, and his growth and his CTOR proves that and supports it. So that segmentation is critical to not just for engagement, but also growth opportunities. Huge for growth opportunities.
I'm going to stay with you, Marianne, before I get back to Travis. Travis, stand by, because I want to treat the audience like me that doesn't understand sometimes the acronyms that we use. I'm going to quote you to you now, if I may. By the way, this was one of our most fun and highly attended and engaging webinars. Thank you for doing it. You did it with the boss, Chris, if you remember, but it was the master class. Chris's quote: "Your open rate is a range. Anyone who tells you your open rate is a number is lying to you." Do you remember when he said that? I use that as a pull quote. The power of let's just get into what is a CTOR as opposed to an open rate? Because some people just look at the open, right? And then say, good, I got an open, done. Can you just treat me again like I'm an infant here and explain that to me, please?
Because of all the privacy changes and whatnot, the open rate it's just not a reliable metric anymore. It's a false metric because it counts bots, it's got all this spammy stuff in there. It's just not accurate. But a CTOR is unique opens and unique clicks. So I am a unique person. I'm a live person, and I actually made a click. I clicked on something. So it's click to open. That is the key metric that you should be regularly looking at. But the analysis on metrics goes a whole lot deeper than even that now. You really need powerful insights to be able to drive the right decisions, make the right decisions, and things like checking your deliverability. Your deliverability is something you have to be on all the time, but it's more than just, am I getting into the inboxes? It's which inboxes am I getting into? Is Google pushing me out at a larger rate than some other email client might be? So that kind of analysis, we've seen examples on with very large publishers where on the low end they had a 7% open rate, which is terrible in their
Awful.
market.
Yeah, that's
And
bad.
within a 3-week period, just us going in and looking at the deliverability in detail, we were able to determine that Google was pushing them out at a huge rate to where their rate on some of their channels was as low as in Google inboxes and Gmail was as low as 3%.
Can't,
So
yeah.
in a 3-week period, we were able to get their lowest one of 7% up to 18%. And
That's in the ballpark. Yeah.
they're up by 11% across the entire organization.
So let's go back to the street. Let's go back to Travis. Travis, what are you looking at? Tell me about the metrics you look at. How do you analyze them? Are you a CTOR man? Is this important to you, sir?
Yeah. I zoom out and see the bigger picture on a monthly basis with our metrics, and we have several years of data that I compare against, month over month, year over year. But yeah, the metrics I'm looking at is definitely click to open rate. That's going to show me what engagement looks like on a daily basis through our newsletters. Yes, your open rates, are they holding? For us, we know we have seasonality in our lists. What the open rates look like in December will look like different in July, right? So those things I look to see if they're holding, if they're improving. Yeah, it's your basics. Your click-through rates, your click-to-open rates, your open rates, how things are moving. I'll zoom in every once in a while if I'm doing an A/B split test to see how that's performing on a daily basis, or if it's an important campaign that I want to see how it's performing over a weekend, I'll zoom in then. But otherwise, I'm going through the basic metrics on a monthly basis.
I want to quote, if I may, Bruce to Bruce now. Bruce, I don't have it on the screen, but I remember you saying something about, Bruce, something about opens don't pay the, I heard you say that to me once, Bruce. Do you remember what I'm looking for? Something, opens don't pay the bills, clicks and conversions do, or something like that. Do I have that right?
That sounds about right. Well, partially it's a little bit like a step up from that is people get really obsessed with like list size, and ultimately that doesn't matter. And what I mean by that is your list size is often not your audience. It is an entire amalgamation of people that have some idea of what the promise is when they gave you an email. And within that, there are many different customer segments. Again, think of like a restaurant. They all might be quote unquote your customers, people that are around it or whatever, are interested in it. But what are they actually ordering? What are they actually there for? Is it the coffee and a ketchup? Is it to have a family dinner? These things change depending on that. So what is important though is one, we're looking at, like there's some broad metrics here of like list open rate, engagement rate. So like, we're looking above 30%, 30, 50, 60% is like kind of a range we want to typically be in, or what's that top number look like? Then it's, are they engaging? If we see suddenly a massive drop, something feels off there, where it's like, okay, I've got this 30 to 60% open and then 0.001% click, like no one's engaging with all this stuff you're putting in there. Then we might be like, okay, well, was something technically happening? Are you landing in spam, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all this kind of analysis that has to happen. But what I think is important is like, as you get, there's this old mindset of we've had this tech tools where email was very hard to mess with. It's very hard to think about it as a product. As we now shift that thinking, you have this list, you can start thinking about what are the slivers and different profit centers within that. Rather, what can you serve this audience in distinct ways? And now can you spin up a newsletter faster? And then you're looking again. So you might have many newsletters with lots of smaller different list sizes that you're engaging for more impressions across your portfolio, right? Like that is the number an advertiser cares about. You could say big numbers all day and they see it all day. Everyone's boasting the largest number they have of subscribers, but that's not what shows up on reports. They need to know how many eyes saw my thing, how many people engaged with my call to action, and ultimately converted, right? So we've all done it, right? You see like, oh, we got these big numbers. And then you're like, oh man, we're not delivering on these results. We got to adjust things. So that's kind of where we're framing these things at now.
Yeah, you slapped me silly on that one when we first did you and your boss, because I had a 52,000 email database. but I only had about 30,000 of it engaging. But I like that number. And I like pushing it out to my advertisers. You're buying my 52, we at 50. And finally, it just got to a point where we had to go back in and we took 20 out. I mean, because they'd never engaged, but it was a nice number to screen. Now our numbers look so much better, though. My open
And I want to
my
add the
CTORs.
that instinct is natural, right? Like most likely you got to go tell your boss or someone else, like, oh, that number we promote, we got to drop it. And that sucks. It's horrible. No one wants to do that. The reality, though, is if you continue on that path, you are just slowly eroding the health of that list. It's landing in more spam. You're training Google and Apple to ignore your emails because it's going to 20,000 or however many thousand people who are not engaging and not opening. So it's saying this is low value. We don't need it. So the people who do want it are not getting it. And so, like, that said, if you find yourself in that place now, I know it can feel kind of helpless and people kind of get spun up about that. It is repairable. It's just kind of, we got to shift a little mindset
Oh, yeah.
and go on a path.
It was like, it was like killing a gym membership, but I did it. Do you know what I mean? But I felt better after it because then my numbers started coming back up. My open rates looked better. I was delivering, and something you want to deliver, correct me if I'm wrong, to the advertiser, you want to give them the truth, right? I mean, and that's what we started doing. So now my reports look better. I'm feeling better about the engagement, and I'm not playing that stupid game I was doing about a year and 2 months ago. So thank you for your counsel.
I want to add to that, Mike, because this is helpful too, because we're dealing with publishers different sizes. We're not talking about like publishers that are multinational or whatever, and they've got 50 million lists or whatever. The list size is still incredible, right? 30,000 publishers opening is massive. That is massive arena size of people engaging with your content. So some of it's just storytelling and framing, right? If you're a smaller publication, we might say, oh, we got 5,000, which is not Facebook numbers. It's not Google numbers, whatever. But it is the people that care about the news in this community. It fills the biggest stadium that we have or the music venue in our region. And then people are like, oh, okay. Like, so we've got attention with the people you want.
I hear. And that's what I mean. And I want everyone to hear those words. Don't be me. Okay. So let me describe. We have a very, very good operation now that's really engaged. I mean, you're one of my advertisers and you stayed with us. We are a good channel for you. Yay. Thank you. You can give me a plug, but none of my, what I'm saying is, and we're a lean operation. I mean, we only have about 6 or 7 full-time dedicated people running E&P right now. Let me ask Travis. Travis, you're running 5 separate brands. I mean, that's a lot of content to generate. That's a lot of news to figure out. That's a lot of. Are you like this enormous operation? You have 150 employees, some big building somewhere. What's going on, Travis? I want you to tell my audience, even a small team can perform well. Am I correct, sir?
Oh, certainly. We had at best 4 full-time employees, and 2 of which were handling most of the work on the publishing side. So yeah, it's cliche-ish, but it's working smarter, not harder. Looking to remove constraints from your workflow, simplifying it, adding in automation where needed, and it's doable, completely doable. We're doing it.
With your permission, I'm going to stay with you, sir, because now we're in our last 20 minutes. Hey, audience, now's the time to ask your questions. Please get in that chat room, go to work. Let's start selling Letterhead, could we? Because, they're paying the bills here and they're keeping me employed and all that. What does your team internally say about working with them? Let's give a little love to Marianne and Bruce here. Okay, Travis?
Yeah, it's, I think for us, one of the things as we got onboarded and asking the team would be, okay, I'm not hearing any feedback. Is this bad? And on the contrary, it was good. The idea was it was seamless. It was easy. It was intuitive. It was simple to use. So I wasn't getting feedback because they didn't have any. It was, I guess the word seamless. Moving on board with Letterhead and using their product is easy.
Marianne, how do you specifically help lean teams like Travis here just be faster and better without sacrificing quality? What do you say to the smaller publishers when you engage with them, Marianne?
So we size up their team and we audit their performance based on what their key KPIs or their key objectives are. We do that when we start. Each customer has a dedicated customer success manager that serves basically as an extension of their team. So we would do a tactical comprehensive audit alongside them, build a written success plan with weekly reviews and reporting of outcome and whatnot. But if they're outside of letterhead and they're coming into us, then it's a different step. We do that comprehensive onboarding step, but we identify what problems they might have. Have they been doing list hygiene? What does their reputation score look like? So we'll get out in front of those things so that when we bring them in, we avoid having them do their first send. If their reputation is low, we clean that list. We have what we developed as smart segments, which are just simply active openers or active clickers over the past 30, 60, 90 days. We will guide people on the solution of what they need to do to fix some of those problems if they're coming into us. And if they're with us already, we've identified them because we're constantly doing audits behind the scenes to look at their data with them. Or if they're super small, to your point, if it's a super small team, we will look at the data that they do have access and bring it to their attention. We'll ask.
You'll be like their partner. You'll show them the numbers and what they need to know. All right, Bruce, you're running a conversation. It's off script, but I want to get to it because I knew this was going to come up. Content. I mean, and I know the answer to that because my content is different than someone in Boise's content, different from someone in Altoona. Am I correct, sir? That's the answer. But if you stay ethereal and subjective in your answer, they're not going to. The questions that are coming up in chat are what content should I be throwing into my email? Bruce, take it away. I just saw you typing away in this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is what I'm sorry. I do this to my team too. I'm always like in a side conversation in the chat. So happy to always keep the chat going. But the question was kind of like subject matter and what kind of content. And some of that is stuff like we do in Letterhead. It's like here's themes and stuff that's kind of percolating up that are resonating. That only is measuring like the active stuff you're doing, right? If you're reporting about cats and dogs and they're clicking on dogs, great. You know that they're interested in that, but it's not telling you that they're also interested in farm animals because you didn't test that or ask about that. So this is what I'm saying is honestly as like a product team or that mindset, it's a mix of qualitative and quantitative. Some of it is what we call human-centered design research. You're going out and you're doing intentional interviews with users, readers, customers, advertisers. What is it like you work with us for? Why? What are you trying to do with this? What makes you subscribe? What part of the data does this serve for you? We talk about like jobs to be done is like, are you helping them understand the news in their community? Okay, well, what else do they need to understand? And that can lead you to some of those paths. So you guys are probably doing it, but just maybe a little bit more mix of conversation. Yes, surveys in the newsletter also help. A little slower, a little different. It's kind of like a slightly different behavior. You start out very intentionally though. It's like we're intentionally testing to see what new things we can learn about. Or you're saying, what's the current thing we're doing that's most popular? Is there something we can kill? Because often the other is like side note is a lot of people's newsletters are way too long. So I'll just leave that there. Think about like how can we really serve a really poor job for this person and cut it down. The other question we get a lot is subject lines.
Go ahead.
I want to be careful because A/B testing is part of our product. I think it is important, but unless you're like very intentional and saying like, I'm going to test it for this time limit, I'm trying to find out this new format or thing and what works and doesn't work. There's limiting results from that in sense of you will see bigger gains from your content inside the newsletter, the promise you're providing, which is format, or it's like a quick nugget. It's like 5-minute read. And here's that top newsletter thing. And I know I'm going to get something good. People will see the sender first and often will just jump to open because they know that promise is there. They understand what to expect from it. The subject line maybe teases them a little bit more if they're making a decision. If it's a 10-minute read and do I have time for this? Oh, what's in there? Okay, great. I'm going to read that. So subject lines can be a little bit of a tricky game. It can be one of those like, you could end up chasing it for a long time. And the reality is like, you just need to make sure people understand what they get when they open it. I know there's like not firm answers, but it's a little situational to everyone.
Can I also interject what I've learned through you and through the experts is that a headline or a subject line are not the same, right? I mean, there's so many content management systems that just say, we'll make it easy for you. Just put the story in that you're going to publish in this channel, and we'll just replicate it across all these channels and your social media. the wording is different. And if you have a headline and a deck, you can't do that in a subject line. You got to combine. I mean, so there's so many different ways you've got to think differently when it comes to an email send, which is so critical. All right, I got to go. We're getting down to the last 15 minutes. Please get those questions in chat. Bruce, you can go back and play moderator. Travis, I want to talk ROI. I want to talk money. Okay. You said cost savings and production efficiency translate directly into higher margins per ad campaign. How do you make money? Are you making money? And how are you using email to build your top line revenue, sir?
Yeah, so it's better content, you get better readership, better engagement. Advertisers want to get in front of those eyeballs. So that's the name of the game. But in terms of efficiency and higher margins, I could be oversimplistic here, but it's time and labor. If it takes me more time and more labor to produce the output, that's going to increase my cost, which means my margins go down. So conversely, if I can remove time, decrease it, less labor, then my profit and my margins go up, right? So in my operations, that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking, where can I create better efficiencies to improve my profitability?
Anything surprise you with the results you're getting now? I mean, anything that you just did not expect happened? And maybe I'm putting you on the spot, so you say, no, it's just exactly what I wanted.
Well, similar to what, the lack of feedback from the team would be that there's nothing unexpected. I think that's the good news in terms of working with Letterhead.
Finally, I'm going to ask you, if you may, what advice do you give to publishers who are listening to this now going, I'm having trouble just getting the news out, let alone I just don't have time for this. How important do you think this is in a news publisher strategy to take this seriously in today's news ecosystem?
Yeah, go book a demo with Letterhead.
Come on,
Right?
give me a little more there. Give some advice.
No, I think, well, we've already hit on it. Content is king. What Bruce was saying about open rates is true. You can get sucked into the numbers game thinking if I can improve open rates, that means there's more of an opportunity to get clicks and conversions. But the content has to be good, for them to engage with. So you can have a poor open rate, but those who did engage, was off the charts with clicks and conversions. So yeah, it comes back to that. Understanding what your audience wants and, the relevancy of it and delivering it.
All right. So we're going to bring this all home for you now. I'm going to go to Bruce first. Is there a certain match? I mean, Bruce, I'm assuming that sometimes people come to you and you say, no, we're not a good fit. I mean, is there a certain match between Letterhead and a publisher that you look for? And is there like that perfect, I think what I'm trying to say is everyone a potential customer of Letterhead, but what is the perfect fit for Letterhead in your opinion?
Yeah, this is actually the hard thing is that we see when we're doing our own advertising, there are so many different behaviors and demographics and indicators that aren't always true or mean the same thing. So broadly speaking, I'll speak a little bit to like mindset and the things you're working on. Part of it is we'll see people that are operating multiple newsletters, and a newsletter could be different types of segmented sends. It could be like the membership, the weekly, the monthly, the daily. You might have just different distinct patterns of behavior that you're trying to organize around. We see people that are thinking in like a portfolio mindset. They're thinking of this is one aspect of the ecosystem of ways we make revenue and how we operate and we provide value. There's a little bit of teams that are feeling that capacity constraint. So you might not be a massive operation, but it's like Travis was saying, 2 people running 5 newsletters is a lot. That can be, he has to mention this if there's a lot of death 5,000 cuts. We see a lot of teams getting a lot of value from Letterhead with that time savings. It's kind of fun. At some conferences, I've had people like literally do the math and they're like, oh my God, that's like 5 hours a week right there instantly. So like that kind of stuff, if you catch yourself saying like, man, this is so tedious to put this thing together. Business-minded publishers. So newsletters have revenue targets. They're thinking about engagement. It's like similar we said to Travis is like, are you familiar with this stuff? Are you there? Are you already kind of operating this machine? If you're kind of like, I want to spin up a newsletter, maybe not the right place. But again, if you're like, I want to spin it up, I've got 1 million subscribers and I'm trying to match it to this content I've got over here. that's where we can come in and be like, okay, let's figure out that system and process that with you. If you're starting from zero, there's a lot of other good platforms that can ramp you up, but Letterhead is meant for more scale and kind of multi newsletters in a portfolio.
Marianne, what is someone's next step? Go ahead. You're the VP of sales. Do that elevator pitch. Make that pitch now. What is the next step for a publisher? It says, okay, I'm tired of waiting. I got to get my first party moving. I got to get this engagement up. This is a very important goal for me to grow my business. What is the next step, Marianne?
I always tell people we get a lot of people that come in and they want to talk about monetization right away. But when you peel it back, the content strategy isn't in place yet. And the list size is not. It's not big enough to generate for them to be able to monetize yet. I think some key areas, or I think a key point of what we haven't mentioned yet here, and I'm segueing off a little bit, but I think this is really important, is we're talking about content, and I understand why people are saying, well, how do I get the content? The content is about consistency of the quality content and the type of content that reader signed up for to start with. I came to you because I thought I was going to get this from you. Is there an editorial tone to it, or do I? It starts with the publisher having a really clear understanding of the purpose of their product and the value that it brings to their community of readers. In sales, we ask that a lot. Where does it fit into your overall business model, and what is the purpose and intent for your readers? I think organizations should think of their subscribers as part of the community. What are their interests? Why do they follow you? Do you deliver? Do you consistently deliver on that promise of why they signed up for you with you to begin with? We see people start with X, and then now I'm going to send out these email blasts, and now I'm going to send out this. They're pivoting, but they're pivoting based on their gut instincts, not on the data that supports those kind of decisions. Is there, like Bruce, I think, mentioned, or Travis did, is the layout designed for easy scanning? Do I know what I'm getting when I open that inbox? And am I getting that consistency? Is the content interactive? Are you asking the readers' opinions? They're part of your community, and if you ask their opinion, they'll give the opinion, and then you should share it back. You share back those results, and creating those segments based on interests and preferences, I think, is super helpful to leading that engagement. And then timing is also a factor. Can they count on your content being delivered on a set schedule? I see where they start on a set schedule and then they overload. They go on overload. So yeah, that's key. And there, I said monetization comes last, but there's nothing wrong with promotions or campaigns, but a product that is primarily meant to drive clicks for the publisher's benefit can become problematic very quickly. If you're just putting a bunch of links in there or ads, too many ads, that kind of thing, it can become problematic. I think it's about respecting your community and understanding the purpose of why you exist.
Boy, that was a masterclass on steroids. Thank you, Marianne, for sharing that. Travis, there's a question here I don't know if you saw it in chat. Are you getting good retention with your advertisers that market on your lists? Are they coming back? Do you have a strong advertiser base there, sir?
Yeah, very strong. I mean, the market ebbs and flows, but yeah, the types of advertisers that come to us, repeated.
I already know the answer to this, Bruce, but I don't know if you answered it. What is the list size needed to monetize? Bruce, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead, take it away. Did you answer that in the chat or not? I don't know. Bruce, what was your answer?
I'll let Marianne kick that. She does that more day to day, and my opinions might be too far off from Marianne's practical answers of what she works with when our customers come in.
Is there a magic list size, Marianne, that you need in order to make money with email?
There's a lot of variables in there, but I would say it depends. The first thing you're going to take a look at is, am I in a local marketplace, or is my product a national product, right? So if you're in a local marketplace, then it's very easy and it doesn't take a lot of, you can do it without even having a a live sales rep out doing direct sold, but just running internal ads, letting the readers know. A lot of those readers, we saw this with our owned and operated with our parent company. A lot of the readers own businesses or are connected. So just running ads saying, hey, want to see your ad here? You'll see that in a lot of newsletters. That's very effective. So direct sold is the highest paying revenue opportunity in ads. The next piece would be if you're going to do some sort of third party, like a programmatic, you're going to look for programmatic that is more native in nature. The old world programmatic were not high quality ads. People struggled with them. The payout was small, etc. They've improved, but you have to have the right vendor. We work with a vendor of Red Content that we really appreciate. We've got some other ones in there as well that are really strong, but the ads are native in nature. What does that mean? It just means it's more in line with the content that you're running. Like you need relevant, easy to read. And the other thing I would add there is list size. Going back to list size on a national level, again, the advertisers are smart. They're looking at CTOR. They're not looking at your list size. So
Exactly.
if you're doing programmatic, you want upwards of 100,000 subscribers or more. If that's your sole source of revenue is programmatic, then you want 100,000 or more, and that'll pull you in a couple hundred, several hundred per month with the right partner. If you're doing direct sold, then you can have a much smaller direct sold, and you've got a powerful niche. So the more carved out, like you look at Travis, his niche is really defined. So he's an obvious target. You don't have to forget about psychographics. You know it just by looking at his newsletters. You know it by looking at the content. You can surmise who those readers are, what their interests are. So that's very powerful, and you can charge more for those, and you can have a much smaller list. You could have a list as low as 10,000. And go back to Bruce's comment. You got 30,000 people sitting in a stadium. That's a lot of eyeballs to be in front of. You've got a 10,000 list size with a pretty solid CTOR, then you can make revenue off it. But the direct sold takes a little more work and whatnot. But we coach people through that.
I got to
So-
just, if I may add and editorialize, one thing we do know is that if you are a local news publisher, you have a great niche. You have an affluent, educated, very active consumer who some describe as an alpha consumer who will tell 5 other people who to vote for, where to shop. There's no question that the niche, the demography of the local news consumer is craved by many brands today. So stay in your lane. Bruce, you were given editorial comments, and I want to thank you, Bruce, for your support of ENP. Bruce Pinchback, co-founder and head of brand at Letterhead. Thank you. Marianne Monero, who gave us another incredible masterclass, VP of Sales at Letterhead. And our star for today, Travis. It's an honor to meet you, sir. Have you on the program, and I think we're going to keep following you at ENP because you're just a smart operator. Travis Horton, founder of Brand Avalanche Media. Thank you for your time and your incredible insights, and thank our audience for sticking around. This is ENP Magazine. Quick reminder, a link to the recording of this should be out before end of business today. Thanks to all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.